It was the night before the AP chemistry test on kinetics. A cold sweat wrapped around my face as I scrolled through page after page of released AP exam, desperately trying to find and solve any question related to kinetics, so I could prove to myself that I was, in fact, prepared for the test the next day. That night, I realized a fundamental issue. Even though College Board releases so many resources to help students prepare and practice for exams, these resources simply aren't optimized for learning. Hi, my name is Abhinav Ganesh, and I'm going to be talking about the issue of the lack of usability of released AP exams and how I'm converting that data into a useful studying tool with StudySmart. First, I'll discuss the problem and why it's important. Then, I'll delve into some of the existing solutions and why none of them adequately work enough to solve the problem. And lastly, I'll present my solution, StudySmart. So first, the problem. Research from Vanderbilt University has shown that studying with practice testing is much more effective than studying techniques that do not use practice testing, as evidenced by increased scores on assessments. Now, this isn't anything new. It has been scientifically established that practice testing is the most effective way to prepare for exams, and it's also been established that students already implement these studying techniques into their daily routines. College Board recognizes these facts, which is why they release previous AP exams so that students can use them to practice and prepare for future exams. However, the problem with this is that due to the nature of these exams having questions mixed across units as opposed to separated into discrete categories, it's difficult to use previous AP exam questions when one is studying for a specific unit test or when they're trying to identify subject areas of weakness. And this is a problem because millions of students take AP exams every single year, and every single one of them face the barriers to effectively using the resources that I described previously. This has implications both at the individual level, because students gain less from the cost they incur to the College Board, and at the societal level, because we're losing out on the potential for education of the next generation. Now, how have some people tried to solve the problem? Well, a lot of teachers have made their own websites on which they've tried to manually classify previous questions into their units. However, the problem with this is that there's hundreds of previously released AP questions, and going through every single one of them and classifying them is a very laborious and time-consuming task. So teachers simply can't do a complete job at classifying previous AP questions. Exam preparation companies have tried to solve the issue through making their own questions which are labeled by unit. However, the issue with this is they lack the authenticity of the resources that come from College Board, because we don't know that they're going to be representative of what we'll see on the actual tests. Furthermore, third-party resources like exam preparation textbooks cost money, so they're not accessible to everyone. This brings me to my solution, StudySmart. StudySmart's a free application that categorizes previous questions into their respective units. Students can input a wide variety of questions mixed across units, and StudySmart will output only those questions which are relevant to the unit the student wants to study. By automatically classifying officially released resources, StudySmart combines the authenticity of resources from the College Board with the usability of third-party resources like exam preparation textbooks. Now, StudySmart's only been implemented for AP Chemistry right now, but using the same methodology, I could extend it to more subjects in the future. So what does StudySmart actually look like? StudySmart's a downloadable application that's usable on Mac right now and is still in progress on being usable as an application for Windows. But as you can see, StudySmart has three main features. First, users can get all the questions relevant to a specific unit from the AP curriculum across all the previous AP exams. All they have to do is select the units they're interested in and then press the Get Questions button. And StudySmart will return a pop-up window which contains a spreadsheet of the unit, source, question, sub-question, and a link to the resource the user should be looking at of all the questions that are relevant to the unit or units students are interested in. Now, this spreadsheet's actually interactive in that right now it's organized by the source, or by the specific exam the questions are from. However, the questions could just as easily be reshuffled to being organized by the unit that they're relevant from. In this way, users can use StudySmart's output however they need to make effective practice. A second function of StudySmart is that they can find the unit breakdown of previously released exams. And this is useful if students want to figure out their strengths and weaknesses based on what questions they're getting right or wrong on previous tests. So all they have to do is select previous exams and then click Get Unit Breakdown. And StudySmart will output a spreadsheet again with all the questions and classify into their units. The third functionality of StudySmart is that students can input their own questions if they're not already part of previous questions, and obtain a unit breakdown of those user inputted questions. Now all they have to do is copy paste their text into the text entry box and then press Get Unit Breakdown, and StudySmart will again return a spreadsheet in the pop-up window. And something important to look at here is that there's also an additional column for text preview that helps users verify they're looking at the correct question. Now, how exactly does this work? StudySmart uses natural language processing, also called NLP, which is a subset of machine learning that deals with human language. So what it does is it takes a large set of manually labeled documents. In this case, our documents would really be individual AP Chemistry questions that are already labeled into units. So using this wide set of questions that are already labeled into units, NLP converts them into mathematical vector representation based on term frequency and the importance of terms in documents. And then a machine learning model can be used to associate the categories these questions have been labeled with to their vector representations. Then when a new document or a new individual question has been introduced, it can be converted into mathematical representation, and then the machine learning model can use its previously learned associations to classify this new question. So where did I get all this data from in the first place? Well, I combined data from teacher websites, which manually classify data, as well as data from questions from each chapter of a textbook, which, given the chapter, can be associated with the unit they fall under. And now, getting questions from the textbook was specifically complex because I had to use something called optical character recognition, which is understanding characters from images. And using this technique, I was able to get text from PDF format, and then using this text format, I had to parse through the text to pattern search for individual questions. That's how I got my set of data, which I used to train my model, which is the crux of StudySmart. Now this brings me to my biggest challenge, which was the accuracy of my model. By taking a subset of some of the questions which I had labeled and testing my model's predictions on that subset, I was able to tell that my model's accuracy was approximately 80%. Now this was less than optimal in my opinion, even though I don't know whether this is truly accurate or representative for all the AP questions, because I don't have a list of labels for every single AP question. However, what I can do in the future to improve this is implement user input so that users can report questions which have been misclassified, and now those misclassified reports will be saved onto the database next to the question. So the user input will override my StudySmart model's predictions for those specific questions. Now this is also useful because it adds additional label data, which will improve my model's performance because there's more data to train off of. In conclusion, College Board provides a lot of useful resources, but they aren't exactly usable right now for students. And through StudySmart, I hope to make these already available resources a lot more usable to make a difference in education. I'd like to specifically thank my mentor, Dr. Suma Bhatt, an assistant professor at UIUC, who has a specialized interest in natural language processing. Without her mentorship, it would have been a lot more difficult to create my application and learn NLP from the start. And lastly, thank you to all my audience members for your time today.